The wind cut through Powder Pass like a rusty blade, carrying dust that stung worse than rock salt. Rosa Quinn pulled her coat tighter, squinting through the red haze as her mare picked its way down the treacherous slope. 6 years had passed since the war ended, but she still couldn't shake the habit of scanning for danger in every shadow. A scream split the air, not the high cry of a woman, but the raw, guttural sound of a man in agony. Rosa's hands went to her medical bag before her mind even caught up. Old habits. She pressed her knees to her horse's sides and pushed toward the sound. At the bottom of the pass, near an overturned ore wagon, 3 miners clustered around a 4th. Their faces were gray beneath coal dust. Rosa swung down, boots crunching on gravel. "Move aside," she commanded. The men hesitated. One scowled, "Woman, this ain't no place for you." "Ride to town, fetch a doctor. Doc Morrison's been dead 2 months." Rosa knelt anyway. The injured man lay trapped beneath the wagon's iron wheel, his leg twisted at a wrong angle. His eyes fluttered, shock already setting in. She pressed 2 fingers to his neck, pulse rapid but steady. Luck, if such a thing existed here. "You," she pointed at the youngest miner, "run to the saloon. Tell Marigold Hayes I need clean cloth and whiskey. The rest of you, lift this wheel." "Already tried," another miner muttered. Too heavy, the ground shook with hoofbeats. A massive black stallion thundered down the slope, sliding to a halt in a storm of dust. Its rider swung down in one fluid motion. 6 feet of hard muscle, moving with the calm precision of a man who had seen battle. The oldest miner muttered a name like a prayer Elias Crowe. Rosa had heard whispers. Former cavalry scout, now cattle rancher. A man folks stepped aside for. Up close, she saw why. Not just his size, nor the colt on his hip. It was the way he carried himself, as if the wilderness itself bent to him. His gray eyes swept the scene, pausing briefly on her, then settling on the wagon. "Need to cut the axle," he said simply. While the miners scrambled for tools, Elias crouched beside Rosa. "You're the new midwife." "Midwife, nurse, whatever folks need," she answered, not looking up from the wound. "Right now, I need this man freed before gangrene sets in." Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition of shared darkness. "Field Hospital, Pennsylvania 45th U," she asked. "3rd Colorado Cavalry." For a heartbeat, they saw each other clearly. Survivors of blood and chaos now thrust into a new kind of fight. Together they worked. Elias commanded the miners with steady authority, his saw biting through metal while Rosa kept the patient conscious, whispering sharp instructions. Marigold Hayes soon arrived with cloth and whiskey, her painted face pale but determined. She cradled the miner's head as Rosa cleaned blood away, steady hands revealing steel beneath the rouge. At last, the axle gave way. The wheel lifted, and the injured man screamed as Rosa pulled him clear. No arterial spray. Relief washed through her, but the leg was mangled. She cut away fabric, cleaned with whiskey, wrapped the wound with practiced hands. The man would live if infection didn't claim him. "You always this bossy?" Elias asked quietly, watching her work. "You always waste time with questions when people are bleeding," she shot back. He gave a half smile, brief but real. The moment shattered as more hoofbeats sounded. A fine bay mare approached, carrying a man in a tailored coat flanked by 2 Pinkertons. Judge Elias Beckett. Rosa recognized him from whispers in town. Eastern money, cold as granite. The judge surveyed the scene with detached interest. "Madam, you have no authority to practice medicine here." "This man is dying," Rosa retorted. "I'm trained. I served 3 years in field hospitals." "Without license, you're nothing but a dangerous amateur." Beckett sneered. "I'll overlook this, but any further attempts will mean immediate arrest." Murmurs rippled among the miners. Even the Pinkertons shifted uncomfortably. "You'd let him die for paperwork." Rosa's voice was sharp, carrying across the pass. "What kind of justice is that?" "The only kind that matters." Legal Justice Beckett touched his hat mockingly. "Good day, Miss Quinn." "Mr. Crowe, we'll discuss your debts soon." He rode off, dust swirling behind him, Son of a marigold bit her tongue, fury simmering in her painted eyes. "Help me get him to the saloon." Rosa ordered, "You'll hang for it." Elias warned softly, "Beckett owns the law here." "Then the law is wrong." Rosa met his gaze steadily. "I didn't survive war just to watch men die for bureaucracy." Something shifted in his expression. Respect, maybe. Recognition of a kindred, stubborn soul. "My ranch," Elias said finally. "Closer than town. Beckett's writ don't run on private land." Quote, "Together they fashioned a litter, moving with surprising rhythm for strangers. As they secured the injured man, Rosa caught something odd, the faint bitter almond scent on his breath, too familiar. She'd smelled it before in poisoned water supplies during the war. "Marigold?" she asked sharply. "How many miners have taken sick lately?" The saloon owner's painted face went carefully blank, more than usual. Duck Morrison called it mine fever. Rosa's stomach tightened. This wasn't fever. It was poisoning. The wind howled across Powder Pass as they started the slow descent, the injured miner between them. Rosa rode beside him, determined to keep him alive. Beside her, Elias Crowe cut a dark figure against the storm. "You really think you can save him?" he asked. "I've saved men with worse." She tightened the blankets around her patient. "The question is whether this town will let me." Elias didn't answer, but his eyes burned with something dangerous. Neither of them knew it then, but this was only the beginning. The wounded miner, the poisoned water, Judge Beckett's shadow. Rosa had come west, seeking peace, but she had stepped straight into another battlefield. And Elias Crowe, whether she wanted him or not, had just become her ally. The ride down from Powder Pass was slow and tense. The litter bumped along uneven trails, every jolt pulling groans from the wounded miner. Rosa rode close, murmuring calm words while her hands checked his pulse again and again. The faint almond smell lingered in his breath. It gnawed at her mind like a warning bell that wouldn't stop ringing. Elias led them to his ranch, a modest spread tucked in a shallow valley. The barn was clean, the house sturdy, the land marked by years of hard labor. He directed the miners to carry their friend inside, into a small room off the kitchen. Rosa wasted no time. She boiled water, laid out bandages, and sharpened the knife she might need if infection spread. "You're set on this," Elias said, leaning in the doorway, arms folded. "Would you prefer I let him die?" Rosa shot back. "I'm saying Beckett's got his eyes on you now. Saving a man today could mean the gallows tomorrow. Then tomorrow will come when it does. Today, he needs me." Elias studied her a long moment, then fetched clean sheets without another word. By lamplight, Rosa worked. She cleaned the wound, set the broken bone as best she could, and stitched torn flesh with steady fingers. Marigold hovered near the door, her usual sharp tongue silenced by worry. When Rosa asked for supplies, she fetched them without hesitation. Hours passed. Sweat beaded Rosa's brow, her hands never faltering. At last she sat back, exhaustion tugging at her bones. The miner lived, for now. Infection might still claim him, but she had given him a chance. "He'll see his children again," Marigold whispered, tears shining in her painted eyes. Rosa only nodded, too drained to speak. Elias crouched beside her. "You did good." She looked at him sharply. "I did what had to be done." His lips curved faintly. "Same thing in my book." The quiet moment was shattered by pounding at the door. Elias's hand went to his Colt as he opened it. Deputy Owen Pike stood outside, barely more than a boy, his face pale in the lantern light. "Judge Beckett sent me." Owen stammered. "He says if Miss Quinn's found treating that man, she'll be jailed by morning." Elias's gray eyes hardened. "Tell Beckett she's under my roof, my land. He wants her, he can come himself." Owen swallowed, torn between duty and decency. His gaze flicked to Rosa, then back to Elias. "Beckett won't stop. He don't care who dies, long as his rules are followed." "Then maybe it's time someone cared enough to fight back," Rosa said quietly. The deputy left, fear in his young eyes. When the door shut, Elias turned to her. "You've just made yourself his enemy." Rosa wiped blood from her hands. "If the choice is silence or saving lives, I'll take the enemy." Elias stared at her, then let out a low chuckle. "Woman, you'll drive me straight into sin." For the first time since she'd arrived in Wyoming, Rosa laughed, a sharp sound edged with defiance. But the laugh didn't last. Hours later, as the house settled into uneasy sleep, Rosa sat by her patient's bed. The bitter almond scent was stronger now. She knew the signs too well. This wasn't just an accident in the mine. Someone was poisoning these men. And Judge Beckett, with his cold smile and fine Eastern clothes, seemed to be standing at the center of it all. Rosa whispered a promise into the darkness. "I'll find the truth." Whatever it costs, Elias stood silent in the doorway, watching her. He didn't speak, but she saw the same fire in his eyes. Together, whether they wanted it or not, they were already caught in a storm far bigger than themselves. The frontier demanded choices. Tonight, Rosa had made hers. Dawn crept over the plains in a wash of pale gold. Rosa stepped outside, the cold air cutting her cheeks, the scent of sage sharp after a night of blood and worry. Inside, the miner stirred fitfully, fever rising. She pressed her hand to his brow before stepping back into the yard where Elias was saddling his black stallion. "He's slipping," she said quietly. Elias tugged the cinch tight. "You've done all you can. Now it's time we find out who's behind this poison." Her eyes narrowed. "You believe me, then? That it's poison? I've seen enough death to trust the look in your eyes." He swung into the saddle. "Come, there's someone in town who might know more." Beckett's grip isn't as solid as he thinks. The ride to Ash Hollow was silent, tension hanging between them like a drawn bow. The town was stirring when they arrived, smoke curling from chimneys, shopkeepers sweeping dust from doorways. Yet beneath the ordinary hum, Rosa sensed unease. Men's faces looked worn, women's eyes wary. Too many funerals had been held lately. Marigold Hayes met them outside the saloon. Her painted face was carefully set, but her hands trembled as she lit a morning lantern. "You shouldn't be here," she hissed. "Beckett's already restless after last night." "Restless or guilty?" Rosa asked. Marigold's eyes flickered, but she didn't answer. Instead, she led them into a back room. Inside lay a ledger, half hidden beneath a silk shawl. "Miners pay tabs with more than whiskey." She whispered, "I keep records. Men dying faster than they ought to. Whole crews sick at once. Always the ones working near the creek." Rosa flipped through the book. Names, dates, debts, and one word, scrawled again and again beside the sickest men: water. Before she could say more, the door slammed open. Judge Beckett strode in, two Pinkertons at his side. His smile was sharp as a knife. Well, what do we have here? My favorite outlaw midwife and the cattleman who thinks debt makes him free." Elias shifted, hand near his colt. Rosa straightened, clutching the ledger to her chest. "These men are dying, Judge," she said, "and you know why." Beckett's eyes glittered. "Careful, Miss Quinn. Accusations carry weight. Heavier than you can bear. You'd poison your own town for profit?" Her voice rang, stronger than she felt. "Children drink that water." "Children," he sneered. "Replaceable, like miners, like cattle. Land, however, that endures, and poison land becomes cheap land." Elias stepped forward, fury coiled tight in his shoulders. "You're playing a dangerous game." "No, Mr. Crowe. I'm winning it." Beckett's voice dripped with satisfaction. "And when the law hauls Miss Quinn away for practicing medicine, no one will remember the rest." He snapped his fingers. The Pinkertons moved. Rosa braced, clutching the ledger like a shield. But before the men reached her, a voice cut through the tension. "Enough!" Deputy Owen Pike stood in the doorway, his revolver drawn, his boyish face pale but steady. "This has gone far enough, Judge, for a moment." Silence hung heavy. Then Beckett laughed, cold and dismissive. "Put that toy away, boy, before you shoot your own foot." But Owen didn't lower his gun. His voice shook, but his words carried. "I swore an oath to protect this town." not to watch it poisoned. The Pinkertons hesitated. Beckett's sneer faltered. And in that crack, Rosa stepped forward, the ledger raised high. "The truth is written here," she said, her voice carrying beyond the walls where townsfolk had begun to gather. "Every death, every debt, every drop of poisoned water. You can silence me, Judge, but you can't silence all of them." Through the open doorway, the people of Ash Hollow stood, listening. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Beckett's face darkened. "You'll hang for this woman." Elias's Colt cleared leather faster than a heartbeat. Not today. The standoff stretched taut, the air charged with the weight of choice. And for the first time, Rosa saw fear flicker in Beckett's eyes. Whatever happened next, the tide had shifted. Ash Hollow would no longer be silent. And Rosa Quinn, scarred by war but unbroken, had found her place, not just as a healer, but as a fighter for justice in a land too long ruled by greed. Beside her, Elias Crowe stood like a shadow carved from iron, his loyalty no longer in question. Whatever trials lay ahead, they would face them together. Because some battles were worth fighting, some lives were worth saving, and some sins, once spoken aloud, could never again be hidden.